Welcome back to TikTok. We thank you for your information and will reward your patience in the kingdom of heaven. To make up for our absence, here is an extended video from the Cult Hunter.
If you're anything like me, you spend a lot of your days pensively staring out a window, thinking about cult stories. I'm a journalist who studies cults, and here's how I fell into having the weirdest job ever. In 2017, I was going through court files from a manslaughter case in Alaska. A man named Paul Vermilion had killed one of his friends at his parents' vacation home, and he was sent to prison for 2.5 years. He was kind of privileged. Rich kid. The more I reviewed the case, the less it seemed like what happened was some kind of reckless accident. And if you listen to the judge describe the incident at sentencing, you'll get a sense of why I thought Paul had gotten a slap on the wrist for what was really a murder. For a little context, the victim was unarmed, and these were the circumstances of his death.
The Ice X, the shotgun, and the .30-06 used in combination suggest rage to me.
That did not sound like an accident. So, at this point, my mind is made up. I'm going to Alaska, and I'm gonna figure this out. So I made a few phone calls, and I showed up at the courthouse. But no one with a hand in the Vermilion case would talk. What I wanted was an interview with the prosecutor. I wanted him to explain to me the rationale of the plea bargain. But I realized pretty quickly that all my attempts were useless. There was only one reporter the DA would go on record with, and it wasn't me.
Welcome back to KSRM's Justice on the Kenai. Here's Catie Quinn.
We're talking this morning with Kenai's District Attorney Scott Leaders.
I have a reputation around here. That helped. I called, and then his boss,
Skidmore?
every day, every other day, every week, yep, for better part of 6 months.
Catie Quinn covered government and politics more closely than anyone else on the Kenai Peninsula. A local state senator was a regular on her show. Catie was known for getting information out of the state troopers, and when she had visa issues, Senator Lisa Murkowski wrote her a letter of support. Catie was an ace. Most importantly, Catie attended all the hearings in Paul Vermilion's case, and had interviewed the DA around the time he was sentenced. I thought, if this guy's not gonna talk to me, at least Catie could give me a read on what he was thinking. So I called her. But when I said I thought Vermilion was guilty, I didn't get quite the reaction I expected.
There's a lot that you're missing.
Well, I
know you got a lot, but there's a lot that you're missing.
Catie told me she thought Paul was innocent, and she convinced me she had special information. As a reporter, you follow what bleeds. And if the story was that Paul was innocent, even if that's not what you want to hear, you're obligated to publish the facts. What Catie had was a little more mysterious than solid proof, but it was very compelling.
I'm going to tell you right now, I could potentially have a lot for you, okay? That's why I'm taking it so carefully and so seriously.
Apparently, the court that convicted Vermilion was deeply corrupt. After hearing this, I started talking to Catie every day, often for hours, and the information she was feeding me made this whole manslaughter plea seem like just a little blip in the system.
Right, well, and the fact that I've had all of this for the length of time that I've had it and it's never reached the airwaves shows that I can be trusted.
I'm sorry, what was the question? What's stressful about this?
Yeah.
I was so enthralled with the information Catie was giving me that I started sharing it with other reporters. Like, how do I approach this? And one of those reporters was Sarah Koenig.
I mean, you just need to hear what the reporters say. Also,
I'm just saying, I wouldn't trust reporters. I wouldn't base your story on what other reporters are saying.
Undeterred, I continued to repeat what I was being fed until I crossed paths with a lawyer who told me stories about my incredible source.
I mean, I've talked to her a lot, but...
Have you heard about the cult she's in?
No.
Don't tell her I told you, but yeah, ask her about the religious organization she's a member of.
Well, she's told me that she's religious, but that's as far as it's gone.
They're religious. It's a cult where there's apparently like penis washing.
What? That was a bold claim that I honestly thought might be a smear. But when I listened back to my tapes with Catie, it started to hit me that I'd missed something big.
I had an encounter with God the day that I met Paul, which is the reason why I'm involved.
It came out that God had told Catie to advocate for Paul with all the resources at her disposal. The part that didn't sit well with me was that God was this man who was building a compound in the woods of Nikiski.
I don't know that I ever told you this, but I approached him and I was like, look, I am a bad journalist for this, but I'm never going to make this a story, and I'm going to fight for you in every way I know how.
I couldn't see that the thing I was looking for was right in front of me, because I couldn't imagine that I could be compromised. I started to wonder, was I brainwashed when I was looking into the Vermilion case? I was desperate for answers.
I could have an answer to every question that you've got.
The big question here is, did Catie have something to do with the plea bargain? It's crazy to think this stuff, and I started to wonder if I was literally going insane. But then, thankfully, I found a reporter who was sort of able to answer my questions.
I investigated her for quite some time while I was there, which caused us to clash. She was a member of a group that I would call a cult, and was sort of using her position as a reporter at the local commercial radio station to do some things that I found sort of problematic.
Catie was talking to the DA. She was talking to the cops. She was getting tips from city officials. That's all true. But her primary source was God. How on earth did I fall for this bullshit? This was all very strange and sort of embarrassing. I just wanted out of Neverland. So I backtracked and submitted a version of this story about Paul escaping justice, what I was originally looking for, without any mention of Catie or the cult. I sort of assumed this chapter of my life was over, but then Catie made her way out of the cult, and I had an opportunity to talk to her about the past and Paul.
And I never have yet met him in person, and I don't think I ever will now.
I wondered if you guys had met. I mean, you met in the courthouse or whatever, but
yeah.
Thus began an endless chase for records of people associated with Marc Wade Bisset, and eventually I found what I was looking for.
So this family belongs to a really strong cult?
yeah, I
Okay.
When I published that, the cult came after me, and we've been linked ever since.
Actually, if any of you have heard of a cult hunter telling a story about a cult in Nikiski that he alleges I was part of, that man, he is all wrong.
If you're interested in the full story, there is a podcast. It's really easy to find. It's called Cult Stories. There's only one episode. It's about Catie, and it's called Deployable Agent.
She's still waiting to go back. She still hasn't held the child that she gave birth to.